Now, Trump keeps proving he's the world's biggest liability on the global stage. The man can't stop making enemies for no reason, and it's absolutely reckless to the point of stupidity. And look, I'll be real, I've never been critical of Modi and his government. Allegedly, there's even evidence that they tried to target just Jagmeet Singh, the leader of the Canada's NDP. So yeah, Modi isn't some hero for me, and generally he isn't considered that either. However, the thing is, instead of being smart, instead of actually thinking about strategy, Trump just barges in, picking fights, burning bridges, and making America look weaker by the day. Now, the hypocrisy is actually laughable. This is the same guy who whined about Biden supposedly letting Russia and China team up, acting like he understood foreign policy. Here's a newsflash: Trump is doing exactly the same thing, but only worse. Any half decent history professor could tell you the obvious: you don't push Russia and China closer together. I'm sure you've heard that a million times. You try to keep them closer, but he's dragging India into the mix too. We're talking about three giant countries here: Russia, China, and India, two of them the most populated nations on earth, namely India and China. And Trump is practically encouraging them to find common ground. And here's the kickers, guys: China's president Xi Jinping doesn't even have to lift a finger. He's just sitting back, watching Trump bubble through international politics, handing China win after win. Trump bans industries, launches reckless trade wars, and what happens? Countries retaliate. They're not just going to sit back and take it, are they? Especially countries like India and China. Now, India isn't some just tiny player, is it? It's a rising power with a booming population and growing economic clout. Yet Trump, in all his, stable genius, quote unquote, wisdom, decides to antagonize them too. It's not a strategy, guys. It's actually self sabotage. These moves don't make America stronger. They isolate us, they weaken us, and they give authoritarian leaders exactly what they want. Honestly, it's breathtaking how many dumb moves one man can make in a single lifetime.
For the moment, I think it does raise a lot of questions about how this gets resolved in a way that may better benefit both sides.
Maya, the administration keeps celebrating the revenue coming in from tariffs, about $110 billion this year, according to the Treasury Department. But is that money coming from American companies and consumers? And where is that money going? Will it ever get back into people's hands?
Yeah, so the upside, I suppose, of the tariff situation, which is certainly a game of tariff whiplash right now, where the uncertainty it's creating continues to complicate things in the economy. But the upside is it's generating very significant revenue. And again, to the uncertainty, we have no idea if that revenue will last. The tariffs may be found to be unconstitutional. The repercussions that come from other countries and how they respond, and if they change their own trading patterns, those all could change the trajectory we're on. But were we to stay collecting the same amount that we are right now, this could generate trillions of dollars over the coming decade to a cash-starved federal government. In particular, it could help to offset the huge loss of revenue we had from the tax cuts that were just passed. But yes, there's no getting around the fact that tariffs are taxes. They will come from companies, consumers. They will have effects on prices. As somebody who worries about the fiscal situation, I have to point out we are going to have to pay more for something because we're not paying enough for the government that we have. So this is one way to raise revenue. But the thing about tariffs to keep in mind is that it can have a positive fiscal effect, but also a negative economic effect and a questionable foreign policy effect, as you were just discussing. Are the point of tariffs to affect our relationship with China? Because they're alienating a lot of other countries around the world at the same time. So there are a lot of questions there about what the overall objective is.
With China, if this action from the United States with these tariffs up to 50% holds for weeks or months. So why that matters is because Russia, India, and China have not exactly have been the warmest of friends, especially with China and India. But we have India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi heading to the latest meeting this coming week or in the next few days of the Shanghai Economic Organization and Cooperation Summit, which is a group that is meant to hold regional security together, a group that was founded by Moscow and Beijing to challenge the world order, the Western-based world order from its point of view. Putin is going to be traveling to India by the end of the year. So what is this all doing? Perhaps strengthening ties between India, China, and Russia. To that end, we have Barka Dutt, a respected journalist in India, talking to our own Fareed Zakaria a couple days ago about the United States continuing its trade with Russia, and also China and the EU continuing trade with Russia as well. Let's listen to what she had to say.
India has pointed out repeatedly to the hypocrisy by the United States, by the Trump administration on this issue. The numbers speak for themselves. $3.5 billion trade value between the United States and Russia in 2024 alone. Millions of value in imports of fertilizers and uranium.
And, you know, I should say, John, I'm coming off stretch with the flu. Little brain fuzz at the moment, bungled that name. Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Forgive me forever, again, coming off the flu. But the point here is that as we are watching this developing in the days and weeks ahead, we're going to be seeing what cooperation is like between India and the United States. Ministers between the State Department and India's Ministry of External Affairs met virtually on Monday, and they said, as far as things go with the Quad, the security group that involves India, the United States, Australia, and Japan, things are as they have been. Cooperation was reaffirmed. President Trump and prime ministers who lead the Quad are supposed to meet later this year. But as stock prices continue to tank, one wonders how much longer this will be able to continue. Will we have a trade deal between the United States and India after 5 rounds of negotiations failing? So a lot of dynamics to be watching. Definitely the biggest economic story in Asia happening today. So we will be watching who moves first. What happens with these storylines, John?
Yeah, I mean, this is the whole thing. Who's going to blink? And at this point, no one seems ready to blink. So we'll wait and see. Mike Valeria there in Seoul. Hope you're getting better. We all hate a cold or flu. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
CNN's Anna Kuban breaks down the numbers on how the new tariffs will affect India.
It had already been hit by 25% tariffs. Now an additional 25% is being added. India is about to face one of the highest effective US tariff rates in the world. That's the rate that once you calculate various exemptions. That's because after Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022 and Europe started sanctioning Russian oil, Russia focused on selling its barrels to Asia, and India became a big customer. By June this year, nearly 47% of Russian crude oil had been sent to China, and around 38% had been sent to India. Now, last month, Trump announced secondary sanctions on countries purchasing this oil. After that, a crude oil analyst at Kepler noted a slowdown in purchases from India, and that those barrels are being snapped up by China. They noted around 15 cargoes had been sent to China. But that hasn't been enough to stop these sanctions from coming into effect today. That could make certain items that the US gets from India a lot more expensive, from jewelry to jeans. And if that demand is cut down, it could have an impact on jobs in India. But the actual impact on Indian GDP is not predicted to be that significant. You can see here it's just around a knock of around 0.8% based on these tariffs. Now, engineering goods and electricals are a significant portion of the products that India will ship to the US. Earlier this year, India actually overtook China to become the biggest exporter of smartphones to the United States, according to research firm Canalys. But smartphones are exempt from these sanctions, which could provide some relief. Other goods will continue to be sold to the rest of the world without facing a tariff increase. Anna Kuban, CNN, London.
Being a large, diverse, messy democracy, it has domestic interests that it cannot ignore. Despite all this, Washington, through painstaking, patient diplomacy, was able to nudge New Delhi closer and closer so that the two countries' interests and actions were aligned. Enter Trump 2.0. With little warning, Donald Trump has undone decades of painstaking effort by American diplomats. He has placed India in the highest category of tariff countries, along with Syria and Myanmar, while placing Pakistan at just 19% and offering joint efforts to look for oil in that country. There is little accessible oil there. He met with Pakistan's army chief in private. A Trump family-backed firm has had ties to Pakistan's National Crypto Council, all fueling suspicions of backroom deals. Trump has suddenly turned on India, insulting its economy, calling it dead. In fact, India has had the fastest growing large economy in the world for several years now and is the world's fourth largest economy and will likely overtake Germany by 2028 to become number 3 after the US and China. It is the world's second largest importer of arms and has the second largest number of smartphone users. India has a long history of seeking to be non-aligned. Under Modi, it embraced a variation called multi-alignment, allowing it to freelance and maintain good ties with all sides. Persistent American diplomacy and the rise of China had been chipping away at that stance, and India had slowly but surely been embracing closer ties with America. No more. Even if Trump reverses course once again, the damage is done. Indians believe that America has shown its true colors, its unreliability, its willingness to be brutal to those it calls its friends. They will understandably feel that they need to hedge their bets, stay close to Russia, and even make amends with China. The country is united in its shock and anger at Trump's insulting behavior. When I'm in India, I often urge the country to forge closer ties with America, telling Indians that they should shed their ambivalence, that their destiny lies in a great partnership between the world's oldest and its largest democracy. Today, I would be hard-pressed to urge Indians to follow that advice.